Hello and welcome back to GRIDwrap on this fine Monday. And I've got, we're missing Tessa this week because we've got into our new format, but we have three guests on the sofa today. We have Mimi Juneau of Mimi's Choice, we have Dean Ashby of Redgrave, and we have Melanie Milland of Avination. So hello and welcome to you all.
Hi, thanks for having us again, Dusa.
Hello.
Well, I hope you're all feeling lively because we have just an hour to kill, and I know what generally happens is at about 10 to 4 I am really upset and have to get it all wrapped up, and I'm really looking forward to tonight. I'm going to start with Mimi because I went to Mimi originally because Avination was hitting the headlines last week like nobody's business, and I knew that Mimi was in there, and I wanted to know why. What was happening in Avination last week, Mimi, that caused all this furore in the headlines?
Well, it was not last week. I asked you in October to come over and to have a look in that great new world that Melanie was making there. And well, the moment I knew that Dean was building there his business too, he was expanding, I had to know what he was doing because he always has a good nose for business and for new things. So I followed him, and I liked that world very much. And I met Melanie and her husband, and they were such nice people. But in the beginning, it was for me, it was like a role play grid. The welcome looked like very grungy and normally not my style, but then we had long talks and they wanted to expand the world to bring other people in, business, fashion, everything. And well, that's what I liked. And I started to create it over and started my business again.
So what have you been doing? You've been taking, Mimi's Choice is a very successful fashion line of other designers, isn't it? So, I mean, how would you express it?
Well, as you know, I can't make a sock. I'm a very poor reseller, but I know what I like. And so I started my business in Second Life 4 years ago with bringing creators together under one roof in my shop. And I just asked a little commission. And yeah, it worked fine. And I'm still expanding. And now I went to Avination too, because I know there are so many new people coming in, and I want to give them everything they want and need to look good there, like shapes, eyes, clothes, shoes, whatever they need. And I bring a lot of creators there, and they're very pleased with that.
So how do you get the designs in there, Mimi?
Well, I can't do it myself because you only can bring things that you make yourself. But I work with people, with business partners I have for years, like Jador, SF Design, MEP, Noon. But I also asked for new designers to come over, and it worked fine, like La Pointe and Baschild, Inedit King, a lot of new designers. It's nice to meet new people there.
Well, I know you've been in there a while, and I know that you were urging me to come and have a look. I haven't actually been able to stir a foot out of Second Life hardly at the moment, but anyway. So coming to you, Dean, Mimi followed you in there. What was the nose you had for business for Avination?
That nose.
Well, that's how Mimi described it. She says you have
Yes,
a good
you have a
nose for
nose.
business.
I think she just means my nose in real life. I think it's big enough for smelling good business. So maybe she relates to that. Yeah, actually, the same happened to me as to Mimi. We were always watching out for alternatives to Second Life and to extend our products and our work to other grids. And yeah, at the time I met Melanie and she invited me to have a look at the grid she created, and I talked to her a long time about copyrights and everything. You know, the ongoing discussions we have since years on Second Life. And actually, I had a very good impression about her ideas on that, and so I give it a try.
Oh, so what happens with the copyrights then?
As I think I speak for many creators in Second Life, the thing is that we have since years an ongoing problem with defending our work and our products. I mean, we spend a lot of time and money into the products we create and try to sell it for reasonable prices. And thing is that, in my opinion, Linden Labs is a bit of looking away since a few years on copybotting, on spreading illegal products. And we had long talks with Linden Lab too about this, and then they were always telling us, yeah, we're going to do this and that and that. But actually, to us, we didn't see much going on. So I think the normal reaction is if you don't find the proper protection you would like to see in such a professional world as Second Life, you're looking around and you look for alternatives. And Melanie talked a lot about protecting creators in Avination, how she's going to protect the copyrights there. And basically, I liked what she said. So, as I told before, and so that was the reason why we went over.
Okay, so Melanie, that's a natural segue into you, isn't it? What did you tell them about protecting copyright?
Well, I found that one of the things that was blighting the fashion industry throughout not only ESL but also other worlds was the copybotting, and there were a few things that I thought would probably curb that severely and possibly even make certain abuse cases for copybotting impossible technologically. So I went and researched those routes and found a few possibilities to stop some of the more insidious attacks, and I implemented some policies to stop some of the others. And we just believe that the creators and their creations are what makes the world, not pure user counts. And because of that, we believe that we should help our creators and protect their interests and look out for them. It can only benefit everyone.
Okay, so I mean, there's a far cry, isn't it, from the way that Open Sim originated, really, which was about having everything open and free and joyful and skipping across the grid. Really, there was that kind of sort of element to it, wasn't it? Which is it's desirable, but it's not always practical. People have to make money out of things. So, how did you come? Because I know you were in right from the very beginning from Open Sim, weren't you, I think?
Well, I was in relatively early. When I was in, you could actually turn a prim around and it'll be back to where it was. When you restart the sim, it wasn't even remembering that. So that was pretty early, I believe. But I've only seriously joined the core effort about half a year later. And I believe I've solved some quite important things in the development of OpenSim. I remember one blog where I was thanked effusively for making sure that hair stayed on people's heads. It was that primitive back then. It was a fun time, really. And yes, at that time, obviously things had to be opened and free because there wasn't even a hint of DRM in the system. I'm actually one of the people who've done extensive work on implementing permissions as we know them in OpenSim. Before that, everything was full perm. But yes, it's correct. You do need to have you need to have an economy. You need to have commerce in order to get high quality content, because high quality content doesn't grow on trees. It has to be created by someone who's investing a a large amount of real life time into it, and unless they're really enthusiastic and want to benefit the world and other things along those lines, they are definitely going to want to see some revenue from those.
Mm. So tell me something. I mean, I've been working on this program alongside Tessa, for example, who's developed Spot on 3D. So I've learned a tiny bit about things. I'm not terribly technically minded. I'm in sense like Mimi, you know, I can't make a sock, and if I try, people mock me with enthusiasm. Let's put it that way. So what I'm saying to you is, if I came in and I had brought in my sock, and how would I be able to guarantee that absolutely nobody's, you know, how am I going to trust you, Melanie? It's that, isn't it? Because it comes down to this element of this exchange of trust between the person that comes into any grid and the person that's running any grid, because those people have got that content on their server.
Obviously, there is a level of trust involved. It does mean that I have everything on my servers, and I could theoretically go and take your sock and spread it all over the metaverse. However, trust has to start somewhere. It's a history of having worked in Open Sim. It's the fact that I've never went to any length to hide my real name. In fact, my real identity is always been public from the very start. That I'm an Open Sim core developer, and because of that, that is a bit of implicit trust right there. And then when I started the grid and I had the first creators in there, and they saw that things were as they had expected them to be, that things would be handled as professionally as done today in Second Life. That is when trust started building. In the beginning, I had to field a lot of questions about what about if you just take my stuff and bring it to OS Grid, or can you read my scripts? Now it's come to the point where we actually don't get these questions anymore at all. People trust us as implicitly as they do Second Life, and I'm thankful for that.
So, okay, going back to Mimi. Mimi.
Yes, dear.
How do you make the leap? How do you make the leap? I know you're still in Second Life, right?
Yes.
So how do you make the leap across to another grid and sustain your business with the same intensity that you have done before?
Yeah, of course, I spend more time now in Avination in the last weeks because I have to set up everything. I have 2 Sims by the help of Dean. He made nice shops for me. But yeah, I have to run that business. I have to bring people in. I have to make a group there, invite people there. Yeah, it's a lot of work. But I still make time for Second Life, of course, but a bit less. I feel I'm neglecting a bit my business here, but I will come back soon and divide my time between both worlds and real life a bit too. But I love that world there. It's much relaxed there, and well, there are no children there.
Is that a policy, having no children?
I think so, Mel.
Pardon me?
Is it a policy to not have children? I'm assuming you are talking about
teens.
Well, yes, the grid. Well, you have to distinguish between children and child avatars.
Yeah.
Now, the grid is a mature grid. It is 18 plus as far as the real people are concerned who drive the avatars. And we have a strong policy against age play, which is not allowed in either of the 2 jurisdictions we operate under. However, we've decided not to put out a blanket ban on child or short avatars. First of all, it's very hard to enforce, and second of all, there are those people who are actually playing family because they've had bad childhood experiences or for other reasons that I don't need to get into, but they don't do age play as it's in that sense, and banning child avatars just doesn't seem fair to those people. So what we've done is we have put some policies in place and put out some notices and notice boards to make it abundantly clear to anybody who gets any parts of a child avatar for themselves that they can't use that for age play. And we have a policy against age play that has some real teeth, meaning we do involve real-world authorities immediately and give them full disclosure of all data of anybody found engaging in age play.
So how would you know whether, for example, you're talking about age play, where do you want to be specific about what that is for people who don't know?
Well, age play is a term of somebody engaging in conduct using a child avatar, and conduct that's not appropriate for the apparent age of that avatar.
Yeah, so you can cast your minds around that, ladies and gentlemen of the net, who may not be familiar with 3D virtual worlds and its mores. What I was going to ask is, how can you ensure? Is there any way of ensuring that those people don't get on, or the kids don't get on? Because we know that kids will get in it anywhere.
Well, obviously, there's no way to be 100% sure in the wide and open internet where kids can take their parents' credit cards, take their parents' PayPal accounts, and just use them. There's a certain element of parental responsibility that can't be denied. If we do find out that there's a minor actually driving one of our avatars, we take swift action and we block out the entire avatar and everything related to it. But obviously some of them have become so proficient at it with their experiences from Second Life that they're virtually undetectable.
Do you think there's any way of
we can do it to the best of our abilities, but nobody can be 100%.
I was going to say, will there ever be a way that you can verify age to any degree that makes it really, truly effective, that what you could say that 100%?
As long as the internet doesn't acquire a form of universal identification, like a government ID document in a real country, I really don't see any way to do more than it's already being done with credit reference agencies.
Now, to get onto your grid, in fact, you do have to have some kind of pay information if you want to do anything effective there. Is that right?
Well, yes. What we've done is we have allowed people to come in immediately, but in order to do anything more complex than just looking around, you need to get something on file with us.
Okay, Dean.
We're still developing on that. As we're adding new methods and also some more verification soon. This is something that's an ongoing project.
Great. Well, because of course everything's ongoing, isn't it? Because everybody's in a developmental stage, effectively, and learning as they're going along. I mean, I'm going to come back to you in a minute, Melanie, but I was going to just go to Dean here, because Dean, didn't you in the past used to run a very successful club in Second Life?
I hope many people liked what we did. Yes, we did that. We're still doing that since now, I guess, 4 years. It's called the Sands House Club, and we're still running.
You're still running. There's a bit of a break for you, though, I think, at one point. But now I see that actually you've gone back to DJing in Avination. Is that right?
Yes, I think we should. Actually, I have to get back a bit on the idea what Sands House Club was about. It wasn't actually just the idea of having another club in Second Life like everyone else had, for just meeting and communicating, socializing, and listening to good music. I still love that idea that many DJs all over the world get the chance to play their tunes or their mixes or their own productions to a worldwide audience. But basically our idea was a bit different from that, as we had very good contacts in the record industry. We thought it would be nice to get them into a virtual world. At that time it was Second Life, and see more chances for producers or musicians or just people that like to produce music at home to get the word out, because mostly you're caught to, let's say, 50, 60 people max that you visit your club and you can play your tunes. But I think there's so many nice tunes out there which people create, and a lot of people send me songs, and I thought it would be really great to bring the music business more into a virtual world, as it's still
good.
There's a frontier where you always have these little clubs with limited access, and so we basically, what we try to do is to bring real life labels in. We did that very successfully, I guess, in 2008, 2009, as we had the two worldwide biggest record labels playing in our club, and tried to get into contact with Linden Lab about this, and had several talks about integrating real life sales, for example. I think that would be a wonderful idea, to have MP3s on a direct sale in a virtual world. But the problem is, as always is, as it's with big companies, that they are looking at numbers. And numbers, I guess, is, talking about thousands, and at 10,000 we're talking about millions. And I'm not sure if the Second Life, for example, would be capable to reach these numbers. And they surely see, on the other hand, how many people can attend events. And they had some good reasons, they told me, the record labels. They said, what if we, for example, really let a real-life superstar play in your club? And what happens then? And you have then about 2,000 people want to come into your sim, and what's next? So 1,940 not amused people will stand outside, and 60 people will have a good party. So that's basically at the moment a limit to a virtual world where we and the record labels saw. I hope there will be some more development on this. Melanie was so graceful to take a look at some concepts I had, and hope that she will one day take a look on them closer and integrate maybe some of my ideas. That would be wonderful.
Well, Melanie, coming to that, is there any chance of it being on cloud? Would that make a difference? Wasn't there an experiment where they had 1,000 people on one of the open grids?
Yes, that is actually experimental Intel technology. We could possibly gain access to the technology, but there's a difference between that and a normal grid user experience. They're using what they call client handlers, where like 30 or 40 people are logged into a PC, and that PC then communicates with the central simulation. Sorry, when I get a bit technical here, that is something that is suitable for events where there's a large passive audience. That means people who don't need to access the inventory, who don't need to res, who don't need to build. And that is quite different from the full simulation that we are currently using. It's something that is definitely going to come. But at least at this time, that is not a main focus. For the 1,000 avatars, they used pre-rendered avatars. That was actually only 4 or 5 types of avatars they had, and they were all bots.
Oh, wow. Okay. Right. Well, all bots is not what we're up to, is it?
No, it's a technology that's not suitable yet.
Okay. So, Mimi, you're a great one for getting a community around you. What are you doing to get a community around you in Avination?
What I do is new people there. So they always can contact me when they need help. I work also at the welcome area, invite people to look around. I give them landmarks of nice places, and I invite them to my group, of course, if they come over to my shop. And I send out messages not only about my shop, but also about interesting things that are in parties and that kind of stuff.
So, it must be it must be enormously hard work to start again. I know you think it's good for business and all the rest of it, but Do you find it? I mean, how do you find it? How are you feeling about it? Do you find it exciting, or are you exhausted? What's happening to you, really?
I love it there. It's a lot of work, I admit, and sometimes I'm so tired in the evening, but I love doing it. And I met so many new people, very interesting people, new creators. It's fun. It's really a nice world there, because maybe you don't know, but we have now gambling is allowed there, so it brings over all the casinos again, new money, new people. And well, I like it. It's a loose world, an adult world. That's all I can say. And you know what? It's good for economy too, because you can't find a lot of freebie shops, complete freebie sims with stolen stuff. It's so fresh. It's a fresh world. Yeah.
I was reading about the gambling coming in, but Second Life had to get rid of the gambling, didn't they? So, Melanie, how come it's come into Avination?
Well, it's really very simple. It's the same thing that was originally the case in Second Life, that gambling is not something that Avination actually offers. It's just something where we have the role of like an internet service provider. The problem in Second Life was a change in U.S. law. However, we are not a U.S. company. Which means that we still have the safe harbor of being a service provider rather than being a gambling site ourselves. We are not a gambling site. We do not offer gambling. Not a single machine is run by Avination, and we take no profits of that.
So, I mean, do they have to come to the Avination grid, presumably, do they, to get to, I can't remember what it's called now. Let me have a look. My notes. But to get to the gambling area, somebody said, I remember reading an article that said it was completely vast and enormous and there was lots of stuff there, but actually they hadn't seen anybody actually gambling, so maybe that was just before it opened.
Well, we do keep gambling out of the public view in the welcome areas completely, because we are conscious that some people are offended by that kind of an environment, even though they're 18 or older and otherwise mature. Some people just don't like it. And we're trying to keep our welcome areas and our grid-owned and run areas free of offensive material. You will not find any sexual stuff, equipment maybe, could be a store or two, but definitely no action. You won't find any gambling there. You won't find any banking. Anything that somebody might take exception at, we keep out.
Right. Okay. So, all right, you brought up banking. Let's talk money. So, let's talk money here. If there isn't a banking system, you have been talking about credit cards and PayPal. How does it work then? Is there an economy in Avination?
Yes, indeed, there is an economy, and it works very much the same way that everybody's used to it from here in Second Life. The difference is that we don't currently process credit cards directly. We do that through partners, and we will be offering the facility to use credit cards directly in the near future. But otherwise, the system works just the same way. Logically, there is no great difference between the two systems.
Oh, right. So
banking,
who
on the other hand,
are there? The partners are basically trading off your reputation. We talked about the trust area early, didn't we? And money is a huge area of mistrust in Second Life, that's for sure, after the sort of banking fiasco there was here a couple of years ago.
Yes, I was going to come to that. The exchanges that we're working with are Vervox, who've already started operations, as well as a few others who will be appearing shortly. And it's really a matter of mutual trust, as Vervox also is an established company with a good reputation. And so basically our reputations, I believe, more or less feed into each other's and amplify each other rather than feeding off each other. Banking as such, as it was here in SL, was a different story entirely, and we don't allow it. We don't allow the lending of money. We don't allow the investment of money. We don't allow paying interest on any money. We don't allow ATMs to store money that people don't want in their account, because the balance at the top right of the viewer is a perfectly serviceable account, in my opinion, and there's really no need to have a bank beyond that.
Okay. Something I was going to ask sort of Mimi and Dean, but any of you can come in for this. Is there going to be a marketplace? We've had this question in from Tortured Polygon Ban, who's watching on the net. Hello, Tortured Polygon. And it's asking, will Melanie be integrating an online marketplace, for example, Kariyama?
Well, we have spoken about this with various creators, and we have decided to not go that route at all. We found that on a closer on a closer look, that marketplace, or rather SL Exchange, which it was back then, is what destroyed the mall rental business and in-world shopping in SL. It made it come to a situation, to a way of living where avatars don't move anymore. They just stand in their own houses, have the stuff sent to them, wear it there, take pictures, and send the pictures to their friends. It's a major factor in the destruction of the social fabric of Second Life, and we believe that the in-world experience is more important. So instead of going for a marketplace and selling stuff on the web, we are more focused on keeping the in-world experience enjoyable, and let people move around in world instead.
Can I say something?
Yes, Mimi, come in.
Oh.
Well, Avination, no, shut up. Sorry. Avination is a very democratic world. You know, every week we have a meeting, a creator meeting, and we discuss everything there. And this was one of the points we discussed there. And people agreed that a marketplace would not be so good for Avination and for the economy there. We like to have people running around in the shops, on the grids, not just, like Mel said, just buy on the website.
And of course, what happened on remarkably, for some reason, they were charging to have freebies on the website here in Second Life, weren't they? I mean, presumably that's okay in Avination.
As a matter of fact, Avination has a freebie policy that's rather restrictive, because we found that in Second Life most freebies are either very low quality old items that are just being sold and resold as business in the box and eventually wind up for free, or they were stolen in the first place. Most all high quality freebies started their life as a copybot. So our freebie policy is that you cannot offer anything for free that you did not make, and that you need to have more items for sale than you offer for free. So we're preventing complete freebie stores entirely.
Oh, I see. So
you
where
can
does
have
the
that, for
newbie
instance,
go
you can have 4 dresses for sale and 1 for free as a teaser, but you can't have 20 dresses for free and sell 1.
I'm with you. So that the enormous places that I used to go to as a newbie in Second Life, you can't do that anymore. So Mimi, I know you love taking newbies under your wing and reshaping them. What are you up to with that then?
Yeah, sorry. I have 1 welcome gift in my shop, but that's all. And for the rest, I try to direct them to the best items for the best price. That's all I can do. And but then they get high quality for their money, and they love it. Believe me. But you were talking about your first weeks as a newbie in SL.
Yes.
All you could find was rubbish. Admit.
Well, I didn't know it was rubbish to start off with, did I? Because I hadn't explored further into the world, and the fact was actually that freebies kind of drew me in, because in the same way that mentors drew me in. So, for example, I just thought this was glorious that people sat down and made stuff for other people and gave it to them as a present. That was something that I felt was just fabulous, and it did keep me in, I have to admit. You were going to say something,
when I can jump in here, I think a freebie classified here as mostly rubbish. I think we should really look back on why we started all this. I think everybody that joined wasn't joining Second Life saying, I'm making a multi-million-dollar business, I guess. We all started creating little things and we're happy we made our first house, our first clothes. And I think we should let everyone have this joy and not sitting here judging about others people's work. I guess I have to say I see so many beautiful items that aren't done in Blender or not in 3D Studio Max and have not super textures, but the idea is brilliant. Just very nicely made with simple textures and simple prims, and it's just the idea counts. And if some people enjoy making things in their spare time to enjoy others, I think that is something we should really appreciate, even as you said, when you come new to a virtual world and you don't want to spend a lot of money there. I think we shouldn't judge every freebie as rubbish here. That is something I really want to state clear.
No, you know what I mean.
Yes,
I think
of course,
creating is still something that is, for my part, the most enjoyable thing I do here. I think it got very much of a business in Second Life, that everybody's just busy everywhere, and then there's that fair, and there's this magazine, and there's and that, and you have to advertise there. I think it's taking a lot of the fun that we had when we started back in 2007, where we started. We just enjoyed the time being online, meeting new people, met new friends, and just talking shit, if I may say that, for hours, you know. And in the meantime, we rotated prims and tried to make something nice. So I think we should really appreciate people that doing stuff on their own and saying, okay, I don't see any reason making a profit out of it, and just giving it away because I like that idea. I mean, that is, I think,
generous spirit, isn't it?
But it's a generous spirit, and I would love to see it still happening in a virtual world like Second Life.
Well, do you think, Dean, that they're getting very...
If you yourself create it, then that's okay. The main thrust of our freebie policy is to prevent the redistribution and redistribution of things as freebies and the advent of these freebie malls. It's perfectly all right to put something out on something like a Creative Commons license, which as virtual clothing is actually data. It goes under a license rather than being owned outright like a real world item. And we do support open source. I mean, I support open source. I'm an open source developer. But we have to curb certain undesirable things in the freebie arena, or else we will wind up with these sims full of freebies and $1 items that nobody really wants.
So, say a newbie comes into Avination and they don't know anything about 3D worlds. I mean, that was how I came in. I didn't know anything about virtual worlds. I'm pretty antisocial, really, in a sort of way. But the other thing that kept me... Oh, well, because, you know, I have a duality. That's why. But the other thing that happened was I eventually landed up at one of the help islands and met that amazing bunch of people called mentors, who were very free with their time and their specialities and their expertise, and in fact their solace at times and advice. And that was the other thing that kept me in. Do you have anything like that, Melanie?
Yes, we do. We have a help team and mentor program, and as a matter of fact, there are even some of them here. And we also have in-world staff designated by the last name A team. That was the result of a vote that we took, and our users decided on that name. And those people are always happy to help. That's what they do. So at the Welcome Island, and often also at the Roleplay Welcome Island, we got 2 of them, you will be able to speak to one of those mentors and helpers, and they'll get you started. They'll let you have landmarks, tips and tricks, and possibly you can pick up a tour HUD that lets you tour the stores and attractions of the place, and that will eventually also lead you to sufficient freebies to make your own avatar. It's just that they're not in one place. We've made it so that in order to find them, you have to look around and get a feel of the world.
Okay. Yeah, so the difference is that most people come from Second Life, so they know how it works. They're not completely newbie.
Well, you can't. You can only rely on that for a certain amount of time, presumably, and unless that is just the only community that you want to have in Avination, I suppose.
No, we're actually looking to pull in outside people. That's why we're going some unusual routes in advertising as well as the conventional ones. It's something that the Hypergrid business article touched on, that we're actually doing radio commercials in the US, which gets us a completely new audience of people who have never been to a virtual world before. Even though the commercial does somewhat target Second Life users, it certainly does attract an interest even from people who are not in Second Life. And we have an island that we are going to be launching very soon. That's like the orientation island of Linden Labs, and will allow a complete newbie to learn the ropes and getting around before they are dumped into contact with the world as such.
You lot.
Yes.
Okay, Dean, you were talking very much about development, about building, and what a pleasure it is to do that. And so you get somebody into Avination, and can they build? Can they build? Can they res a prim? Can they?
Of course they can.
Sure.
Yeah. And where do they go to do that?
There's lots of places that I can go to do. There's a public sandbox. It's possible to res things just for playing around in most roleplay areas, although they do have an auto return set that's longish, but it's not like they're in a world that's locked down and you can't do anything. Quite the opposite. We're wide open in that respect. I believe that amateur creation is one of the real strengths of virtual worlds. It's one of the pillars that the virtual society is built on, and it's something that we're fostering and not trying to suppress.
Absolutely, because I mean, what is the point of doing that? Because you'll run out of creatives effectively, won't you? They certainly won't have the innovation and energy that.
And a good thing is that land is so cheap. You can have 15,000 prims, so one complete sim for only $60. So most people, they take their own sim and they start building and playing with prims.
So when you say $60, Mimi, is that a year or what?
That's a month.
That would be nice.
Yeah.
Sorry, Melanie, I think I've planted the seeds of
good proposal.
Okay, so let me just check. Are there any setup fees then?
No, there aren't any.
Right, so people can come along and they can come into your place free, but that's a restriction. There's a restriction to what they can actually do in there. And but if they come in with the PayPal or the credit card...
Well, you don't need to get a SIM, actually. Yeah. You can rent land from people who are already there, or, as I said, use the public sandbox or any of the private sandboxes.
Okay, I'm going to get onto something because we haven't got much time left, but I'm going to get onto something that I am seeing more and more of. And actually, I'm not. Oh, actually, there's a question coming in. Sorry. Yeah, which is apropos of what we've just been talking about. It's can I ask about your physics engine? Are you going to have mesh and HTML on a prim?
As a matter of fact, we support both of those already. Our physics engine is ODE, although there is a thought of changing that. But we already support meshes and we already support media on a prim. However, that requires a viewer that is derived from viewer 2. Now, we have decided that we will not force the viewer 2 user interface on our users. That means our own viewer is not going to go to a viewer 2 base until there is a viewer 2 clone that has the old 1.x style user interface.
I'm just getting onto something that's really concerning me at the moment, because more and more we talked a while ago on this program about cyberbullying, and this is a program that is sponsored by SpotOn3D.com, which is another grid. And we've been talking about cyberbullying, we've been talking about trafficking, we've been talking about all those sorts of things, but something else is coming up. And I know that Tessa Harrington, for example, likes to try and get other grids together to try and form some kind of ethical standard, perhaps, or discussion between grids. And I can understand why, but there is this thing where people come on here, not necessarily yourselves, and they've come onto the NBC News, or they've come onto other things, and they've talked about how terrible Second Life is, or what they've done wrong, and you see it in the forums and you see it everywhere, and then you see everybody argue. Do you think the pool now is becoming so small, the pool of available people to go to these grids is becoming so small that actually the infighting is getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Because all I'm seeing is people, what we would say in the UK, slagging other people off. And this is their perceived way of saying that one thing is better than another, as opposed to joining together and making everything better.
Well, to a degree, I think it might be possible to find a line to work together on. But on the other hand, the grids that are currently there and have arrived, so to speak, are competing commercial enterprises. And it's totally clear that there's always going to be that element.
This is going to get worse, though, isn't it, Melanie, really? Because what's going to happen is all the people who are running open sim grids, for example, who may be undercapitalized, for example, are going to get more and more anxious about, well, they're going to find out it costs money, doesn't it? I mean, are you running your own grid now for the first time? Is this totally your own grid, for example?
Well, yes, this is the first one that I'm owning 100% of.
Mm. So the need to bring in the audience, if you like, for 3D virtual worlds, it becomes more intense, doesn't it? When it's your own money that's being invested in it, you know what I mean?
Well, at this moment, actually, things are going quite well for me, and I find that I don't have to resort to any kind of such tactics to convince people to join us.
I mean, I just know that I've read some terrible, terrible things out there about all sorts of people, and I think you yourself in the past have come in for some kind of criticism of stuff on various forums and what have you.
Well, yes, I'm a very private person. I don't usually go to the forums, which means that I never did take the opportunity to air any side of mine on any forum. I've broken my silence recently on 3 distinct threads in 3 distinct forums regarding the thing that happened in the past that most people remember as the disaster of Legend City. Now, a Legend City is something that was engineered by a person we all know and who burned everyone who was involved in there. I was actually burned for $16,800 total.
Presumably, the information about that is out there on. I mean, simply because I saw some of it on the forums on ancient text. So presumably, if anybody needed that information, they could find it out there, couldn't they? The person that you're not naming, basically.
Well, information has become rather scarce, mostly, I guess, because she basically vanished off the face of the metaverse.
Wow.
And I was keeping my peace. And since her and I are very much the only real and true sources of information on this matter, nothing much got out.
Okay.
I don't believe in airing all my dirty laundry in public. I don't believe in posting incessantly on forums. I don't believe in getting in a position where people will twist my own word around and use it against me on blogs and things. And I find that the easiest way to avoid that is to simply say nothing.
That sounds very wise to me. Okay, so Mr. Ashby and Ms. Juneau and Ms. Milland, right? I have come to the final question because we have indeed run out of time, and for me it seemed very quick and very
Yes, it was, definitely.
So, right, Mimi, I'm going to go to you first.
Yeah.
Just a little heads up, right? So the other two are warned because you will all be asked the same question, right? So basically, what is it that's in your head now that worries you or excites you or gives you joy? Or it could be anything at all. It could be your dog, your cat, a carrot. It could be anything, actually. We are after the watershed.
What's in my... You don't want to know what's in my head. Really not.
Well, this is precisely why I came to you first because, oh, yes, I do.
No, come on. I love being here now with two great friends like Dean and Melanie. I met them in real life. We have fun there. We are building a fantastic world. It's booming there. People feel good there. So I feel good too. And I still love my second life too. And I have enough now with 3 lives. Thank you. But no problem with other grids. Come on, we're all... there's enough space for everyone.
Absolutely, I agree with you entirely, Mimi. And so, Dean, we come to you.
In my head. Basically, I have 2 things that I want to mention. The first thing is what Mimi already said, is that we should really get back to what virtual worlds meant to us years ago. It's not only a business. It's about having fun, socializing, meeting new people, meeting interesting people, have discussions. That's what a virtual world is for me. And I think every grid that supports that idea of bringing back bringing a community back together, which is not all about business and money and cat fights or whatever, and what tag I wear. I think that is something we should really be reminded of, that we are all people sitting in front of a PC and try to have fun. I mean, no one of us, I think, gets up in the evening in front of his PC and thinks, now I'm going to have a fight. I don't think so. Everybody wants to have good conversations and meet new people. And I think that's one of the things that worries me a bit in Second Life since a long time, that this direction we go here is simply business. It's about money that we have to spend, money we have to earn, products we have to release for this and that price. And I think we all have that in real life. I think we all have our real life jobs and have to get along with all the stress we have there. And I think we should really use a virtual world as a place to enjoy, to have fun, and just to for the time we are in, getting back together again, and that I shout out also to grid owners, get back together again, because I think surely it's always a commercial thing, but in the end, we as the users make worlds popular or successful, and this is something I hope Linden Lab someday is being reminded of, that we are still bringing the content, we are paying the fees, and I think that is something they should really take back into consideration.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Dean. And now I go to Melanie.
Yes, what I can say is that I'm just so totally amazed at the way this is taken off. I'm so thankful for everyone who's come to my grid and is helping make this world into what was lost in another place a while ago. We're putting the fun back into virtual worlds. It's something that I was hoping for. It's something that I was working towards, but it's still something that feels so incredible. The way people are flocking to us, and the way the fun is coming back into virtual life. virtually stopped using other worlds. Yes, even this one here, because it's just so good where we're at now, and I think everybody else is sharing in that, and that's what I'm saying. It's just so amazing. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thank you all. And unfortunately, we've come to the end of this program. I could have done with another while, although they might well want to tuck into the brownies by now. And it's just to say that actually, I'm always of the mind that cooperation is the key. And Mal Burns I couldn't put it more succinctly than Mal Burns, actually, but who's put it. It's collaboration is the key, not competition.
Exactly.
Yeah, he has prefaced until a large audience is created, but actually I think it has to be cooperation from the beginning, because personally, for me, because it's just too much, and people will fall by the wayside, and they won't, they needn't have gone through that pain. Okay, everybody, I think we've just about come to the end. We must thank our sponsors, Spot On 3D. And .com for this opportunity to talk, and I hope that Tessa's bid for collaboration will happen. And what else can I say here? I just want to say thank you to the people on the net as well, and good night, good morning, good evening, good afternoon.
Good night.
Have a good life. Take us out of here, or bust us hacks. Thank you.